Challenges are what make you rise up, and they make you operate at a completely different level to what you even thought you were capable of. Hello and welcome to Not Your Forever Job, the show that helps you figure out what you want and where you're going in your career and how to make it happen. I'm Hayley Loren, a career coach and award-winning engineer and science presenter. This week on the show, we are talking about how challenges help you thrive, progress, and build confidence. So if a focus of yours right now is how you can actually progress in your career and build more confidence and more self-belief, then this, my friend, is the episode for you. Now, when you're facing challenges, it can be really freaking difficult because whether it's taking on new responsibilities at work or doing something you don't really feel confident in, or doing a presentation, or even if you're facing something in your personal life, then challenges are really, really tough. And whenever challenges actually come up, people tend to resist them or even hate that they're happening because it can be very, very uncomfortable. And, you know, I know this feeling very well as well. But the thing is that this discomfort can actually be a good thing. Now, when I think about challenges in my own career, I often think of a talk I did at New Scientist Live. For those of you who actually don't know, this is a huge science event here in the UK, and many of the world's top science and tech minds, as well as famous presenters, actually speak there. So speaking at this event was on my bucket list for in a few years' time. So when I got an invite to actually talk at this show, I was just so incredibly shocked. I had this moment, I was sitting in the car and I was actually in the Lake District and I was like, what? This is insane. And the funny thing is that only a few months before I had actually put this on my vision board. So the fact that it just happened really freaked me out. So at first I was really, really excited. And, you know, I was kind of shocked that they would even think about me and think that they would want to have me there. And after the initial wave of excitement, suddenly this fear swept over me, and it was almost like a terror, because this talk was going to be one of the biggest talks that I had done up to this point. It was the biggest location, in front of a bigger crowd, in front of people that I don't know, and alongside professionals and a lot of famous speakers as well. So in the run up to the event, I was full of fear, and it was really lingering over me like this dark cloud. And I constantly had this knot of fear and panic in my stomach. And it was so intense that even when I was on holiday, it was still there, just kind of following me around. And this fear and discomfort, and you might kind of recognize in yourself sometimes, you know, that fear and the anxiety, it can be quite a physical experience, and it can be actually quite intense when you're doing something that is that important or that scary for you. And you might be thinking like, well, why would you put yourself through that situation? Why are you being, why are you making such a big deal out of it? I mean, for me, this was a scary thing to do. And at the time, to be honest, I was thinking exactly the same. I was like, why am I doing this? And there were moments when I thought to myself, can I back out? But the thing is that I knew deep down inside that I had to do this. And sometimes you might resonate with this. You might, understand what I mean when I say that sometimes you just know that you have to do something, even though it's scary. You kind of just feel this kind of instinct inside you that's like, do it. You know you need to do it. And you're like, oh, fuck, really? Do I actually have to do it? So on the actual day of the event, I remember I could feel the adrenaline like coursing through my body. And in the 10 minutes before going on stage, I was standing in the toilets feeling like I was going to be sick. And moments before I went on, I was looking at the hundreds of people sitting on those seats, and I could feel my heartbeat in my mouth, and it was so incredibly intense. And when I walked up those steps and I looked out into the crowd and I saw all of those eyes just staring at me, and I could feel this like intense anticipation. And in that moment, I had no choice. I really had no choice in that moment but to rise up and to do it, to actually start speaking And because of the hours of practice and preparation, then, I went into autopilot and I knew exactly what I had to do. And I was able to go with it. And the crazy thing is that after all of this build-up, all of this stress and anxiety, and genuinely, like, when I think back to it now, I remember how painful and scary it was. This talk ended up being one of the best talks that I've done in my life, because I felt so in the moment and so connected to the audience. And it was such a scary thing to do. And then having achieved that feeling afterwards. And in the moment, like, I was able to have fun. I was able to, like, connect with the crowd and joke with them and ask them questions, and people were nodding, and more people were coming into the room. And I remember standing there being like, oh my God, there's literally people like poking their heads around and being like, oh, I want to go watch her talk. And it was really, really weird, because as somebody, if you've listened to my episodes about my first episode of season 2 about confidence, then you'll know that confidence is something that I have struggled with in my life. So to be on that stage and for this to happen was quite a big thing. And the crazy thing is that within half an hour, all of the fear and lack of self-belief that I had been carrying with me like baggage for so long just dropped away. It was like this switch that happened because either I accepted the challenge in that moment or I let it beat me. And this is the thing about challenges. Like, I'm not saying any of this to go on at you about how amazing I was in that moment in that talk. Although it is important to own your badass selves, because it's okay as well to celebrate yourself when you know that you've done something freaking awesome. But it's not about that. I'm saying this because challenges are what make you rise up, and they make you operate at a completely different level to what you even thought you were capable of. Whether it's standing on stage in front of people, or facing something at work, or physically climbing a mountain, challenges are what shape you. And after my talk, I felt very different. It was like I had shed this skin, and for so long I believed that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't worthy, and my voice just didn't matter. And all through school and uni, and even in my 20s, I felt small. But this talk kind of blasted all of those negative beliefs to pieces. And I knew in that moment that if I could do something that terrifying, then what else am I capable of? And I know, sitting here talking to you right now, that if I can do that as somebody genuinely who had such little confidence when you literally just 5 years ago, you can hear how passionate I am about this. If I can do this, I know that you can fricking do this too. I really, really do. And I know that. I believe that you can do this too. Maybe not in the same way. I'm not saying you need to get up on stage, but in your own way, in terms of finding your voice, taking control of your career, going with it yourself. You are capable of so much. So this, my friends, is how you level up. And if you want to progress and thrive in your career, you need to seek challenges out. And let me tell you this wasn't the first talk that I had done. It wasn't that I did this one talk and then my fears just magically went away. This was years of slowly building my way up, tiny step by tiny step, slowly facing micro challenges until I was able to face bigger challenges. And with each challenge, you become more confident until you find yourself just leaping forward. And the one belief that held me back for so long, and this is something that is so important, and I really want you to listen to this, it's that I believe that we're always meant to feel at ease and happy. And it's such a strange belief really to have, but I honestly believe that the purpose of life was to feel good all the time. But this couldn't actually be further from the truth, because everything starts to change when you know and you truly understand that fear and discomfort are good. They are signs that you're growing. It makes complete sense to run away from fear because it's so physically and mentally distressing. We're taught through horror films, right, that fear is a really terrible thing. But my love, there are two kinds of fear. There's the fear for your life when you're physically in danger. And then there's the fear that you feel when you're facing something that will help you grow and help you thrive. And the problem is your brain doesn't actually distinguish between them. You feel the same physical, painful feelings, whether you're in danger or whether you're facing a challenge that is actually going to be useful to you. And this is why I hid from challenges for so long. And this is why you might be doing the same. Because isn't it nicer to feel warm and cozy and safe and comfortable? And why would you put yourself through pain on purpose? Why would you purposefully welcome fear into your life? And I really, really need you to understand this, okay? Being uncomfortable, anxious, and fearful in the face of a challenge is a good thing, and it is normal. It's a sign that you're growing. You need to feel like this to move forward. You cannot move forward unless you dive into some unknowns and roll your sleeves up and get messy. Growth isn't about ease and perfection. Growth is about learning and challenging yourself. So, my friends, this has been an intense moment for me. I feel like you can feel this too. I really want you to welcome fear into your life. When you get that knot in your stomach and you know that it's there, then know that it matters. And when you feel anxious about an event or you feel out of depth in a new role, know that this is what growth feels like. They are not bad things. And even if your situation is incredibly painful for you right now, my heart genuinely goes out to you if it is. Then know that through the struggle and through the pain, it will make you more resilient and strong. And there will be things that you can learn from this. And I bet you, if you ask yourself, or if I asked you directly right now, if we were just having a nice cup of tea and I said to you, well, what would you do differently? What would you have learned? What have you learned from this? And what would you be able to advise other people? How could you help other people by going through the pain that you've gone through? Challenge is where confidence grows from, even in the most painful moments. So, my incredible, strong, and powerful friend, I want you to identify one action right now that you can take that is going to propel you forward. I want you to face a fear. I want you to think about something that is scary to you, whether it's saying yes to giving a presentation or leading a meeting, or maybe doing some calculations that you feel uncomfortable with if you're in a technical role, if you work in STEM. It could be just simply being in a meeting and expressing your opinion. It doesn't need to be anything huge. As I said, everything starts from small challenges and then building them up. So it can be anything. And as soon as you have this action in your mind, I want you to write it down, because that is the only way that we actually do things, is if you actually write it down and commit to it. And then I want you to message me what your one action is. So message me on Twitter or on Instagram, and my handle is @thehayleyloren. Just send me a message right now, literally right now, if you're not if you're driving, of course, but tell me your action so I can help you stay accountable, because this is why it's so incredibly important, because you need to move forward. You know, listening to these podcasts is only part of it, or watching the show is only part of it. The only person that can change things is yourself by taking action. If you need more help with confidence, then make sure you listen to episode 12, which gives one quick and essential confidence tool. Also episode 8, which is all about how to manage fear of the unknown. And if you're on YouTube, just head over to my website, because that's where all of these episodes are. And you can join my weekly career boost if you fancy a weekly email of positive vibes and career support. And you can also download my free career clarity starter guide by heading to www.hayleyloren.com/coaching. And I'll also put a link below. So, my friend, you can handle anything. Remember that, okay? And you can build your confidence up. Confidence is like a muscle. You can go from having zero confidence to having lots of confidence. You can be confident and lose all of your confidence because something happens, and then you can get it back again. It just takes a tiny action, one step at a time, okay? You've got this. Speak to you soon.